Good morning. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us over the live stream, welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin. We are a spiritual community dedicated to a free and responsible search for truth, meaning, and beauty. Sometimes during that search, some things can come up for us emotionally. If that happens for you, please take care of yourself and know that I and your church are here for you if we can help. Today we will be talking about some legislative proposals that can be traumatic for some of us. I especially want to welcome our visitors this morning. We're so glad you're here. If you're with us online, please say hello in the comments if you have the ability to do so, and let us know from where you're watching the service. If you're with us here in person, we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. Either way, please go to austinuu.org, click on worship, and then click on the link to fill out our online visitor form. We'd love to know more about you. We come from a long tradition of seeing a spark of the divine in every person. And it's in that tradition that I invite you to greet the holy among us in the comments if you're online, or by turning to those around you if you're here in person.
Good morning. My name is AJ Jaraska. I use they, she pronouns. Please join me in saying the words for lighting our chalice, which appear in your order of service or on the screen. This is the flame we hold in our hearts as we strive for justice for everyone. This is the light we shine upon systems of oppression until they are no more. This is the warmth that we share with one another as our struggle becomes our salvation. Our call to worship this morning comes from Yvette Dion. Yvette Dion uses she, her pronouns and is known across the internet by the handle Free Black Girl. She is a journalist, pop culture critic, and magazine editor. She's the National Book Award nominated and Coretta Scott King Honor author of Lifting as We Climb, Black Women's Battle for the Ballot Box, a middle grade nonfiction book about Black women suffragists. Joy is a revolutionary force. We need it as much as we need anger because it is joy that will help keep us in these bodies long enough to enact justice. Please join us in singing the hymn in your gray hymnal, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
This congregation has a mission. It is our common religious purpose. We use it for all of our decision making. It guides all of our ministries and programs. We love it so much we put it on our wall, and we say it together every Sunday. Let's do so now. Together, we nourish souls, transform lives, and do justice to build the beloved community.
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and leave. It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing love. I guess I've lost. Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. Tell them how I'm defying gravity. Kiss me goodbye, defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. Unlimited. My future is unlimited. And I've just had a vision, almost like a prophecy. I know it sounds truly crazy and true. The vision's hazy, but I swear someday I'll be up in the sky, defying gravity, flying so high, defying gravity, and never pull me down. So if you can find me the twisted sky, as someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying so low, at least I'm flying free. To those who drown me, take this message back from me. Tell them how I'm defying gravity. I'll try hard, defying gravity, and then I'll watch them in rain down. And nobody in all of us, no wizard that there is or was, will never gonna bring me
Good morning. I'm Kelly Stokes, and I have a story to read to you. And I'd like to invite the children to come up so you can see the pictures. So you can see the pictures up close. Come on up, Jack. Come on up. Come join me. Today we're talking about resistance, which is a big word, resistance. It can mean lots of different things. And a lot of times when we're talking about resistance, we're talking about working against things that aren't fair. We're talking about working together to make things that aren't fair more fair. And a couple of weeks ago, so if y'all over here might be able to see the picture, and I'm going to hold it like this. So I suggest if you come right up here, you'll have a better seat. So a few weeks ago, I went to Memphis. And in Memphis, there's a museum called the Civil Rights Museum. And it's a museum about Dr. Martin Luther King, but it's also about all of the other people who worked for civil rights to make things more fair in our country. And what was amazing about this museum was there wasn't only one way to do it. There were lawyers who worked for 20 and 30 and 40 years being really smart and doing all kinds of court cases to make things more fair. And there were people giving speeches, and there were people teaching. There were people teaching other people what could be better. They were teaching them what could be more fair and different ways of making it happen. There were people doing laundry for the people who were making the speeches. There were doctors and nurses who came to the marches so that all of the people coming to protest could be safe while they were there. There were so many different ways, hundreds and thousands of different ways that people could help and that people could resist what was unjust. So today we're going to read one way of resisting. This is called Usha and the Stolen Sun, and this is what's called a metaphor. So you can't really steal the sun from a whole group of people, but you can take other things away from them. You can take other things away from them that might feel like that, right? This is by Brie Galbraith and José Bissayon. And for those of you up front, there's a lot of different animals in this book, and you can look really carefully and see if you can spot them all. Usha was born under a gray sky. In her town, the sun hadn't shone for as long as anyone could remember. Anyone, that is, but her grandfather. When grandfather was little, he played in the sun from the moment it climbed into the sky until it dropped back down at night. Everyone did. Where did it go? Usha asked as she settled in for one of grandfather's many stories. One day, he explained, they built the biggest wall we'd ever seen, brick by brick, and it blocked out the sun. Why, grandfather? I couldn't imagine why, but I was only a child. Who, grandfather? Who were they? They were the people who made the rules. Why didn't you yell and scream and make them stop? We did yell, Usha, whispered grandfather, but they were unmoved. What does that mean, unmoved?
I don't know. Not moved.
It means they didn't change their minds, right? They still kept building the wall. Each time her grandfather told the story, it became harder and harder for him to remember. It's been too long, my Usha, grandfather told her. I'm afraid I will never feel the sun again. Usha decided to do something. She left a note on the door that said, went to bring back the sun. Working from her grandfather's stories, Usha began to walk east in search of the sun. On the first day, she saw clouds pouring rain into puddles as big as swimming pools. On the second day, she walked through a forest of fog as thick as soup. On the third day, Usha saw something that stopped her in her tracks. She gave it a sniff. Can you see what it is?
A sunflower.
It's a flower. If she's had no sun, has she ever seen a flower before? No. Was this the smell of sunshine? Usha hurried onward until night fell. Exhausted, she laid her blanket next to an enormous rock and fell asleep. The next morning, Usha opened her eyes. She couldn't believe what she saw. It wasn't a rock she was curled against, but a
Brick wall.
wall, that's right. Usha pushed the wall. She kicked the wall. and she tried, without any luck at all, to climb the wall. Finally, Usha faced the wall and said, "Wall, I have come all this way. Now, move." What do you think happened? The wall didn't respond. "Wall," said Usha louder this time, "you are in my way. Now, move." What happened? Nothing. It's
They
true.
don't even live. Maybe she could order a bulldozer.
Maybe she could order a bulldozer. Well, she tries one more time. I don't know if she knows about bulldozers, Amelia. Let's see. She says one more time, "Wall." She shouted at the top of her lungs, "Move!" A brick began to wiggle. "Who said that?" asked a voice from behind the wall. Usha imagined one of the people from her grandfather's stories. "I am Usha." The brick stopped moving. Then Usha saw another brick shift back and forth. "Why are you yelling?" asked another voice. "I am here for the sun," Usha shouted. The brick was rammed back into place. Out of breath, Usha remembered what grandfather had told her. He had yelled, but they were unmoved. Usha studied the wall. Then she whispered, "I want the sun." Several bricks began to shift. "What did she say?" asked a kid. "Shh, I can't hear her very well from behind this silly old wall," said another voice. "I am here for the sun," Usha sang quietly into the wall. Then she began to share grandfather's stories. Can you see what's happening? Can you see people peeking through? Are there people peeking through? They're breaking, but right now they're just looking at her and listening. She began to share grandfather's stories. Some were sad and made Usha cry. Others were funny, and she laughed aloud. Many of the stories made Usha angry. She shared them all as brick after brick was removed. And just as Usha was almost out of words, the wall began to shake. The wall began to sway. And with a giant rumble, the wall crashed to the ground. When the dust cleared, Usha climbed the pile of bricks and saw children. "She's just like us," one whispered. "But now the sun shines on me too," said Usha. And that moment, she felt the sun for the first time. Can you imagine? Just imagine feeling the sun for the first time. It was warmer, brighter than words could ever have described. Through valleys and forests, over hills and mountains, Usha ran west. She watched the sun peek through the clouds and paint the gray sky away. Finally, she saw the light stream over grandfather's face. Usha was home, and so was the sun. And that's the end of our story. So, all of you who are up here with me, and some people who are already sitting back in the pews here, so we have classes for everyone from ages 4 all the way up to 18. So those of you who are in pre-K through 8th grade, we're going to go out to the garden and the playground, and those of you in high school are going to go to a classroom. First, we're all going to go to the gallery and gather with our groups and meet our teachers so that we can go back, okay? And we're going to sing as we go out.
This is the time in our service where we center ourselves together, we breathe together, we access that place more deeply inside of us, that place of greater wisdom, that place that knows joy, love, compassion, that place where a spark of the divine resides within each of us. And dwelling within that spark of the divine, we enter into a moment of sacred silence together, remembering that the sounds of small children and other human sounds are a part of that silence in this congregation. Breathing in, breathing out, let us enter into that time of sacred silence together. In a moment, when the music begins, I will invite you to light candles. As you do so, please hold in your hearts Denise Romano, who is scheduled for a lung biopsy. I now invite you to light candles of joy, sorrow, hope, remembrance, resistance, resilience.
Sitting here in limbo, but I know it won't be long. Sitting here in limbo, like a bird without a song. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know my faith will lead me on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the dice to roll. Sitting here in limbo, got some time to search my soul. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know my faith will lead me on. I don't know where life will lead me. I don't know where I've been. I can't say what life will show me, but I know what I've seen. Tried my hand at love and friendship, but all that has passed and gone. This little boy's moving on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the tide to flow. up resistance, but I know my faith will lead me on. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know my faith will lead me on.
Our reading today comes from Reverend Lynn Unger, who uses she, her pronouns and is a Unitarian Universalist minister, poet, and dog trainer living in Vancouver, Canada. She looks a bit like Laura Linney with tawny beige skin and sandy brown hair. "Breathe," said the wind. "How can I breathe at a time like this when the air is full of smoke, of burning tires, burning lives?" "Just breathe," the wind insisted. "Easy for you to say if the weight of injustice is not wrapped around your throat, cutting off all air. I need you to breathe. I need you to breathe. Don't tell me to be calm when there are so many reasons to be angry, so much cause for despair." "I didn't say to be calm," said the wind. "I said to breathe. We're going to need a lot of air to make this hurricane together."
The Texas Senate just passed a bill that would authorize the construction of an anti-abortion monument on the grounds of the state capitol. They also passed a bill requiring every classroom in a public school to display a copy of the Christian 10 Commandments. Here and across the country, various forms of don't say gay bills have been passed or proposed, limiting or outright banning the discussion of LGBTQ issues in public schools. Measures trampling upon trans rights, such as prohibiting access to life-affirming, life-saving health care, and so many other punitive measures are being passed or considered, as are various ways of criminalizing drag performances, as is forbidding telling students the truth about the history of slavery, racism, and other forms of oppression in this country, along with measures banning books, eliminating tenure in higher education, turning our schools into militarized zones, targeting funding for public schools by shifting it to private, often religiously indoctrinating private schools. It keeps going. Fees on environmentally friendly ways of producing energy, as well as such ways of consuming energy, such as an additional tax on owners of electric vehicles. Various ways of suppressing voter rights, particularly targeted towards BIPOC folks and young people. Other proposals would take away regulatory authority from municipalities, curtail workers' rights, ban diversity issues, punish businesses that assist their workers with obtaining abortions out of state, or that promote clean energy. Well, the list of legislative atrocities goes on and on and on. In April, we've been exploring the spiritual topic of resistance. But with all these seemingly never-ending assaults upon our religious values and principles, though, it can sometimes feel like this.
I have nothing to say to you, and I will resist you with my last ounce of strength.
Strength is irrelevant. Resistance is futile.
Now, I am not saying there is a Star Trek Borg-like crusade afoot that wants to force us all into a white supremacy culture, hetero-cis patriarchal, radical capitalistic, caste-structured, fundamentalist, Christian-centered, hive mind way of being. Oh, maybe I am. Anyway, given this bombardment we're witnessing upon the very foundations of human dignity, the question becomes, how do we sustain resistance over the long term, find new and innovative ways to engage in such resistance? Well, fundamentally, we steadfastly refuse to accept the framing being foisted upon us. So, for instance, when LGBTQ plus folks, our loved ones and supporters, get accused of grooming children, we don't respond with, "Nuh-uh, we don't either." That centers the argument on the frame being imposed by those with whom we disagree. Instead, we reject the frame altogether, or maybe we turn it upside down by asking something like, well, who is it that's trying to indoctrinate our school children with a white supremacy culture, hetero-cis patriarchal, radical capitalistic, caste-centered, fundamentalist Christian-centered worldview? Who is it that would deny our children an understanding of the history of slavery, racism, and other forms of oppression in this country and the brave folks who have fought against them? Who would deny them knowing the metaphorical truths to be gleaned from all of the world's religions and the myriad beautiful forms of human flourishing? Just who is doing the grooming? Well, activists and movement leaders have identified several ways we can sustain our resistance while often at the same time flipping the frame like this. So, first, don't forget smaller acts of resistance. We often think of resistance as huge marches and the like, but speaking out through what we buy, what we eat, where we show up or don't, for instance, can be powerful forms of resistance. Author and activist Adrienne Marie Brown writes as follows: small resistance historically has looked like a wrench in the gears, a slowing things down, a rancid ingredient in master's food, enslaved people teaching each other how to read and write. Small resistance these days looks like turning people who are supporting and promoting racist, transphobic, and inhumane policies away from your door. It looks like stopping next to police cars that have pulled people over and filming them until the person stopped is allowed to leave. The Dalai Lama simply says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Number two, open ourselves to joy and pleasure and infuse them into our activism. In her book, Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good, Adrienne Renee Brown writes, feeling good is not frivolous. It is freedom. That pleasure is the way we know I belong, I'm safe, I have decolonized, I have returned to myself. Designer and author Ingrid Fattel-Lee argues that autocrats throughout the world have attempted to stifle the sources of joy because it is a propulsive force. Joy is a sustaining source of energy for change. Shared joy creates unity. Pleasure reclaims our humanity. It disrupts biases that separate us. Joy is a form of care that allows us to move past trauma and reclaim our resilience and hope. Inviting one another to enter, rejoice, and come in can be a powerful source of resistance. Number 2A, remember that music is a powerful source of joy within our resistance. Music can both provide us with nourishment for our social justice struggles and a powerful voice for proclaiming them. In fact, the group Resistance Revival Chorus is one such powerful voice for justice. I want to let you hear them and their music just a bit.
The chorus is a collective of women identifying and non-binary individuals. We come together primarily to sing songs that address human rights issues.
We were born from a bunch of organizers who felt the need to infuse the movement with music, to celebrate joy as an act of resistance.
Singing, chanting, drumming, protest songs, popular artists releasing songs of justice, these tap into the emotional and metaphorical parts of our consciousness, making them formidable ways to inspire action and bring about lasting change. 2B. Humor is a wellspring of joy and a remarkably effective way to deliver our message. The United States Institute of Peace outlines several ways humor can radically benefit nonviolent social movements. A well-targeted joke can upend power dynamics. Each joke can become a tiny revolution. For instance, during the Arab Spring, as Mubarak in Egypt refused to announce his resignation, one protester took to social media saying, "He's watching Egyptian state TV. He doesn't even know it's his last day in office." That joke snowballed to other jokes on social media, with a multitude of them portraying Mubarak as clueless, as someone to laugh at rather than fear. The Institute also notes that humor can be nearly impossible for regimes to stamp out. It serves as a healing sort of pressure relief valve for activists, and it can attract more people to a movement. Now, I found so many examples of movements utilizing humor that I can't possibly tell you about all of them. Have some fun and search it online sometime, though. A couple of favorites: the folks who decked themselves out as clowns to attend a Klan rally and informed the Klan's people that they were the ones who looked silly. And how could I leave out the raging grannies?
We're the raging grannies, and we're here to take a stand, to keep choice free for women and to keep our families planned. We won't go back to hangers if our right to choose is banned. Not one step back, no way.
Go grannies. Number 3. Relearning to love our bodies and ourselves is a radical act of resistance. Performance and theater artist, poet, and activist Tricia Hershey says, "Loving ourselves and each other deepens our disruption of the dominant systems. They want us unwell. fearful, exhausted, and without deep self-love because you are easier to manipulate when you are distracted. So many of our systems of oppression exert power and control by separating us from our bodies, assaulting our bodily autonomy. I could go on, but I'd rather let you listen to poet and activist Sonia Renee Taylor, who says it so much more powerfully in her poem, Bodies of Resistance.
It is Monday afternoon, and Roberta watches her sons spout laughter from their geyser throats, sun-choked and filled with joy when she brings them to the beach. All 6 members of her family are here, a sanctuary slightly out of reach, a raft against the constant lash of waves. But today, the undertow will be too savage for her to save them. Today, the ocean is a tyrant appointed to swallow them all. Until 80 complete strangers build their version of a wall in the Gulf of Mexico, singularly summoned to ferry Roberta's drowning family back to shore. Humans who instinctively know every wall needs at least one door. Today, 80 Samaritans became bodies of resistance. Today, 80 people rebelled against an apathetic ocean's insistence on a sacrifice. And this is life, y'all. In these bodies, breathless and beleaguered, we coax one another to survive. We are alive despite even our bones' dissent. The slack-jawed mutter that says these bodies were not meant for delight. Who are we to smile as the world spins in entropy, a hula hoop at our feet? What right have we to meet this day with anything but fear? We are safe right now, but out there wells the tiny bloom of child we hush from the inside. And I know he is, she is, they are, we are afraid, convinced we must beware and hide. But what are we if not survival personified? Because at this very shake of second, a queer kid stands unapologetically lucent in the lion's den of a middle school cafeteria. Just as a woman steels herself and takes a seat in the precinct, preparing to report the rape, defiant against the red tape that would sooner indict the length of her skirt, only to acquit the menace of toxic masculinity. As a fabulously fat woman on a plane explains to the man who has spent the last 40 minutes shaming her body in a series of tweets that she has no intentions on vacating her seat of dignity to make room for his hate. At the exact second, a trans woman turns the doorknob on a woman's restroom as a politician attempts to legislate her into invisibility. A college student with cerebral palsy and 7,000 signatures petitions for accessibility in the office of a university dean. Some days, the invocation of simply being seen in the body we have today is the chant, is the march, is the picket sign. There is no time in all of history when we have not resisted, even as they attempted to gavel our silence. Nevertheless, we persisted, each of us, a link in the human chain. Your shame has not slain even the lowliest of beasts, but our collective transformation has toppled entire empires, delivered us intrepid to capital city streets, 3 million grains of sand forged under the heat of oppression until we were fine as keen-edged glass, a buttress of bodies unafraid to ask why black lives should not matter, as we saw no they in we. New solidarity was a word that must spring forever like water beside a standing rock. The clock of justice will not tarry while you question whether you are worthy of the fight. Despite all you've been told, resistance is an everyday act. The work of excavating every tiny artifact of the oppressor that lives in you. Your call to be a balm to every self-inflicted wound is the way movements are birthed. In a land glad to wish us endless slumber, waking unrepentant in our skin is a hero's journey, and the only way we collectively prevail. And only then can we say, in the words of the famous poet Lucille Clifton, "Won't you celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill us and has failed, and has failed, and will fail.
Renee Taylor also says that allowing ourselves to rest, to slow down, even within our struggle for justice, lets us dream and develop vision. She writes, "Today, more than ever, I know that we need quiet, rest, and sacred, unapologetic community to most powerfully manifest the full possibilities of living in radical self-love." And that brings us finally to number 4. Connection and community are vital for successful social action. We are most powerful when we are resisting together. We cannot sustain ourselves for the long haul without community. Movement building means building power. Building power requires building beloved community. I'll close by mentioning that with so many threats to our fundamental values going on in our world, we can easily, unconsciously slip into the survival part of our brain, our flight, fight, freeze, or fawn responses. Now, flight mode is when we kind of go, danger, danger, run away, run away. Fight mode is danger, danger, I'll kill it. Flee mode is danger, danger. Maybe if I'm very, very quiet and very, very still, it won't notice me. And fawn is when we go danger, danger. Maybe if I'm very nice to it, it won't try to kill me. We have to resist staying in this mode, though, because it automatically shuts down the creative and thinking parts of our brains. Our bodies produce lots of chemicals that can be useful in the moment of danger, but harmful if they continue unabated. We have to pull ourselves out of this mode if we are to not only survive longer term, but to flourish. And all that we have talked about today are practices that help us do that, have helped this church do exactly that. Poet Maya Angelou said, "The question is not how to survive, but how to thrive with passion, compassion, humor, and style." This religious community has answered that question even while facing so many challenges in the past few years. Out of loss and a pandemic, we have built a new way. We have resisted merely surviving and instead chosen thriving. And so, we are growing in numbers and in spiritual maturity, in passion, compassion, humor, and style. Small, simple acts, joy, music, humor, loving our bodies and ourselves, connection and community. These will continue to keep our faith alive, our resistance strong, our spirits flourishing. Amen. Now please rise in body or spirit as we sing together hymn number 1017 in the Teal hymnal, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love and ease the sea. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Let there now be an offering to support the mission and ministries of this church. If you're with us online or here in person, you can go to austinuu.org and click on Give to First UU. If you're here in person, you have the number to text your donation, and if you scan the code on the seats in front of you or out in the foyer, it will take you to where you can also make a donation. The ushers will now gratefully accept the offering. Thank you so much for your gifts. I do have a few things to let you know about going on within the life of the church. First, don't forget that our silent auction is coming up. It'll run from May 7 to May 28th. If you would like to help or have a service or an experience you would like to donate, please contact Jillian Redfern. It's gg7844241@gmail.com. Also, today the church will have a special election to determine the membership of the search committee. Church members can vote in person or online. Check the Friday newsletter or the poster in Housen Hall for more information on the candidates and how to vote. Today, after the service, from 12:30 to 1:15 in room 13, Bob Hendricks will discuss many of the climate solutions we know about, plus a few that we hope to innovate into. These include issues in moving toward clean sources of energy, towards lower energy use, and multiple ways of removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. It also includes suggestions as how to get more involved. Also, I want to let you know, starting later this afternoon, when Wayne and I get in a car to go to Fredericksburg, I will be on a couple of weeks of study leave and vacation leaves. Sonia, our office manager here at the church, and Shannon, our executive director, will know how to use the bat phone if you need to get a hold of me. And finally, I'd like to invite Reverend Aaron up to come let us know about how you can get involved in some resistance going on this week.
No nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán. That is a piece of a song we will do together on Tuesday. We shall not be moved. It's a civil rights anthem, but the Spanish version of the song we have sung together in resistance around immigration. We sing it now because trans Texans and queer Texans will not be kicked out of this state, will not be told to leave. I cannot tell you how full my heart is to be in this team with you, to listen to your sermon today and to be with all of you. So I extend this invitation from our partners in the LGBTQ Equality Coalition. Tomorrow and Tuesday, we need you at the Capitol. If you can't be there, we need you to call. We need you to email, but here's what's going on real quick. Senate Bill 15 is tomorrow. That's the one that would extend anti-trans sports bans to colleges. We are looking for people to help us break the record that Wendy Davis set with the filibuster. We want to break the record and get 4,000 cards dropped against this bill. It's not about trans people only. It's not about sports. It's about everything of what it means to be a state of equality. So drop by the Capitol and drop a card. That means registering opposition at a kiosk, okay? You can do that on your lunch break. You can do it on your coffee break. The Capitol Visitors Garage is free for that amount of time. So you just need to drop in and tell all your friends. We want to break the record tomorrow against Senate Bill 15. Then, Tuesday we sing and we pack the Capitol all day long against Senate Bill 14. That is the one that would ban life-saving best practice healthcare for trans youth. All day. And I'll be co-leading the sing-along with our partners outside the Senate starting at about 8:30 in the morning. So come for what you can do. Call, email if you can't come. We need everybody. And I just want to thank you, Chris, for the opportunity to make that appeal to you. If you have questions, aaron.walter@austinuu.org. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
I'm going to go a little off script and add one more thing. Please vote right now. Early voting ends Tuesday, so that's your last day to vote early. The election is Saturday, May 6th. There are two props in Austin. If you live in Austin, please vote yes on A or for A and against B to have better police citizen oversight in Austin. And if you're not in Austin, you probably have a school board election. Please vote for school boards. It's really important. But what I'm supposed to do is extinguish our chalice. So please join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
For our benediction, I invite you, not only invite you, I encourage you to sing with me to help cover these terrible allergies I'm having. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, Go in peace. Get out there and resist.